All right, good morning. I'd like to begin the regular session of the Gary Sanitary District's Monday morning board meeting here on Monday, November 6th, 2023. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Daniel Vicari.
Present.
Commissioner Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Commissioner Ola Morris. Commissioner Charles Jackson. Commissioner Darnell Lyle. Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Rhonda Anderson. Finance Manager Jerome Foster.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
With 5 commissioners present and 0 absent, we can conduct business. Next up is certification. And I'd like to certify that I, Daniel Vicari, pursuant to Indiana law, section 5-14-1.5-6.1, certify that prior to the start of today's meeting, there was an executive session held and there was nothing discussed in the executive session that was not indicated on the posted notice of executive session. And in being in compliance with Indiana statutes, there were no final votes or decisions made during executive session. Does any commissioner wish to dissent my certification? Hearing none, first thing on the agenda is minutes. Madam Secretary, do you have a recommendation for minutes? And for the recommendation, is there a motion to approve minutes?
Well, second, need a second on that.
Been moved and second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Lyles.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Mabon.
Yes.
Commissioner Vicari.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, the minutes have been approved. Next up is new business, and first on the agenda is payroll. Mr. Foster?
Thank you. I recommend a motion to approve and ratify GSD payroll earnings for period ending September 25th, 2023 through October 8th, 2023, in the amount of $260,541.16.
You've heard the overview of payroll. Is there a motion to approve?
So move. Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Lyles.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Morris. Commissioner Mabon.
Yes.
Commissioner Vicari.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
5 ayes and 0 noes. Payroll has been approved under item 2.1. Sanderson?
Are requested quotes for the HVAC in the electrical building 27th Street, street pump station. So it is in the 2026 bed. We are using rental units to provide air conditioning to avoid overheating of the electrical station. The work times of 4 or 5 units with matching air conditioning. The units will be cooling the wall. The engineering has requested first quote for 5 contractors. 2 of the contractors responded to our request for quote. Pritzker submitted a quote for $74,800 plus an additional $13,588. Submitted a quote for $81,000. Since Glenn will really recommend approval for this asset.
Yeah, I have a question. Is Glenn here today? Is anybody from Glenn here today? Madam Secretary, will I?
No, sir.
My concern was that I wanted to know the value of the subcontracting part of this contract. I mean, the contract, we're awarding a bid for $81,000. I don't know if the subcontracting is 60,000 or 5,000. Would like to know that, and we're trying to keep in the spirit of the city ordinance of hiring minority contractors. And I think minorities, when they go out and select subcontractors, they need to make this board aware of the value of the subcontract. So there's nobody from Glen here today. So, Mr. President, what do you suggest?
Does anyone in the engineering department know that breakdown, or solicit this in a way that you know that breakdown?
Actually, I don't know I'm not aware of the breakdowns, but I spoke with the contractor, Glenn, and I think he told me that the subcontractor, I think it's local based.
It's a Surf Keep out of Maryville.
Oh, Maryville. Okay. And the director asked me to check with Glenn if I think the only thing I was asked to, the information I was asked to get from the contractor or from Glenn is this a union trade company? And he said yes, and is the subcontractor licensed with the city of Gary? The license was probably done, I was told, Friday with the city of Gary. Those are the two information I know. But the breakdowns as to the percentage or the value of the the main contractor or subcontractor, I don't know. I can talk to the contractor myself and then give you the information.
Well, do we know the
Later.
breakdown of the electrical part of the contract?
I think it's majorly we are procuring equipment, and the equipment is going to be installed. The procurement itself, which is the equipment, is what is going to be almost, I would say almost 80% of the total contract. So.
That's it. Did she say?
Except the other bidder was not a Gary base bidder.
Yeah, Glen is Gary. It's a Gary business, and Circle Mechanic is the other one. Okay, so the other contractor is Circle Mechanical Incorporation.
Where is he from?
Out of
Crown Point.
from
Where is he
Portage.
from? You said,
From Portage.
what did?
Yeah.
Prime Star.
Plant has to be.
Yeah, Prime Star at Crown Point was the other bidder.
Yeah, that was what was on the memo. I would say in circumstances like this, Cola and Eric out of engineering, when you're doing these solicitations, and you know the companies you're soliciting perhaps are going to be acting not as generals, but it sort of is like he's acting like a general, not because he's subbing out certain parts of the work. A couple things. One, is he licensed to be a general contractor? Two, you're going to have to ask for a schedule of values, or at least a list of subcontractors with the solicitation with the values of those. Because the position we're putting the subs in now is that he's going to be holding the agreement and he can have a buyout meeting. And we as public servants do not want contractors holding buyout meetings. We want to know up front what the promise was and what they're giving them, especially if they're local companies, right? So I would suggest doing that going forward on these. Who are the total of 5 solicitations? Who were the other 3?
I'd just like to inform the board that I wasn't around when this bid was going on, so.
Got it. But this is a simple question. There were 5 contractors solicited, it says in the memo. Who were the 3 that apparently didn't respond?
Myers Companies, Glam, AK at Bloomfield, Circle Mechanical, Prime Star, and there's 2 other emails,
Yeah.
but there's no company names. So
Playing off the top of my head, I know Circle R and AK, and what was the other one you mentioned?
Myers Company.
Myers are all HVAC companies, and they chose not to bid on this project for whatever reason, right? So the attempt was made to have an HVAC project bid on by an HVAC contractor. So in this case, we have one of each, right? Premisar, I think, is a HVAC company, correct?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, gentlemen, Gary, we don't have a HVAC company locally, correct? And we don't have a minority HVAC company in Gary. Are those 2 things correct?
I don't know if, since Glam is subcontracting,
Yeah, but Glam is
I
electrical
used to think that
contractor.
Glam is,
Electrical.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a HVAC company. Do we have a minority company in Gary, which I understand that we don't? Do we have any other company that this is their base as a HVAC company, which I understand we don't have that either?
we do not have.
Yeah, so it's like we have to go outside of Gary to get an HVAC company. Would that be correct?
That's licensed to do industrial work.
Right. So we got to go outside of Gary. You guys agree?
I do agree.
Okay. That's okay with me then.
I'd just like to add that currently we are paying almost $6,000 for renter.
A month?
Yes, a month.
Wow.
And for 12 months, we will have paid for almost paid for the whole
Yeah,
of this.
that's $72,000.
So-
12
It
months.
should be deemed an emergency. I'm sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off. This is an emergency.
I
So,
agree.
Director, we could try to get this passed right now, but in the event it doesn't, for whatever reason, you need to go out and solicit the work, get it done, bring it to the board for ratification. That's an emergency.
Well, Dan, if this is considered emergency, then we're going to have to go ahead and act on it.
You gotta vote the way you should vote. So I need a motion for item 2B.
I will move that, except I will modify the motion to say that Glim should tell us the contractor amount with the sub within 24 hours.
What condition of the award is them providing that information?
Yes.
Okay, we do that, attorney?
Yes,
Got it. Clear to everybody what we're,
Was that your motion?
that's his motion.
Yes.
That's your motion? I'll second the motion.
so the, again, clearing the motion and the second is for a friendly amendment to add the condition that they provide the value of the subcontracting for this project
Within 24 hours.
within 24 hours. Okay, call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Lyles?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Vakari?
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, item 2B has been approved. Next up is claims. Mr. Foster.
Thank you. I recommend the approval and ratification of GSD claims numbers 3,056 through 3,234 in the amount of $1,288,359.69.
you've heard the high-level overview of claims. Is there a motion to approve them?
So moved.
One second.
Been moved and second. Is there any discussion on claims? Hearing none.
Well, I do have a question, Dan. The way claims are cumulative, and for example, if you vote no on claims, then you're voting no to pay vendors who have provided services for us in good faith. In the future, we're going to have some way of modifying claims to a certain degree, because claims is almost becoming a catch-all. You know, we can't, if we vote no on the claims, then the claims are already paid, but we're ratifying them. But essentially, if you vote no on the claims, that means nobody gets paid. So,
I don't know if you can say we're blanket ratifying the claims. There probably are some NIPSCO bills and other utility bills, which pursuant to our procurement policy, staff can pay without board prior approval, but
okay.
those are the ones that I know that have been paid and no others. All right.
So you're basically saying that the claims are open until this board approves and ratifies?
Yeah, that's the way it's always been.
Correct.
Yeah, the only, if I could,
Yeah.
Mr. President, the only way to get around that issue or to address that issue is when you get a new vendor that we're dealing with, we let them know that there's a longer waiting period on the front end for their invoices to get approved, so they're always working 30 days behind. And that way, you've got the opportunity to review the claim before it gets paid, and you always would have the ability to do that. But on the front end, there would have to be that delay, and they would have to know it on the front end that they would basically have two invoices in the hole, so that they're all, you're always behind, and that's okay. Right? You'd have to have that understanding.
Yeah.
That's the only way to address it. Otherwise, this is the process.
Okay.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Lyles?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Maybon?
Yes.
Commissioner Bakari?
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, the claims have been approved. Next up is information updates, and the first update is regarding plant activities. Rhonda, will you be providing that update today?
Yes.
Okay.
Our HMI project, or Human Machine Interface project, is moving along as scheduled. All of the hardware has been delivered. Wunderlich Malik will be here this week to start the data conversion, and then later in November, they will start the installation. Around early December, the current and the new SCADA system should be running in parallel. And so we're going to do that for a while to make sure everything is running exactly as it's supposed to. And then we will just switch over to the new system. We're really excited about this because our old SCADA system, it's going to be a lot of the equipment we have is obsolete, it's hard to get parts, and so with this new system, we will be current with the new technology. Our September regulatory reports were submitted by the October 28th due date to item. Our disinfection season, which started on April 1st, ended on October 31st, so that's always, we're always happy to end that because the operators don't have to monitor the chemical adjustments, which have to be made frequently, so that is over until April 1st. Our Northwest Indiana Operators Association meeting was hosted by East Chicago, again at the East Chicago Marina, and we heard a technical presentation on secondary clarification and earned CEUs. One of our TWAS pumps one of the pumps that conveys thickened sludge from the GBT to the blend tank was replaced. And thousands of aerator diffuser head membranes were replaced, and aerator 5 is back in service, and the center west RAS valve has been replaced. So all of this work was done simultaneously because number 5 aerator feeds into the west clarifiers, and so our maintenance department did a good job of planning the diffuser membrane replacements, replacing check valves, and doing all the work that it needs to do on the west secondary clarifiers, which are clarifiers 21 through 24. And that's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Kind of curious to see when you replace all those membranes, that you have a reduction in energy or flow or something that could be trended in SCADA,
Yeah, we can trend that.
and then see if we can find some really noticeable beneficial impacts,
Sure.
saving our bottom line.
So we've now replaced the membranes in all 6 aerators, and this is thousands of membranes per aerator over the past 3 years. And so we're going to start all over next year and start replacing more
Not
membranes.
to be funny, but the next board meeting, can you bring one of the membranes so that everyone can see what they look like?
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, it's good to end disinfection season. It's always the best day of the year here, as far as I'm concerned. So just in time to start spending the money you save on snow removal. So, all right. Any questions the board have for plan activities? All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Rhonda. Next up should be Eric Tonk with construction updates.
Good morning, board. Going to provide a quick update on current construction projects. First one being the aeration system projects. This is currently still officially on the books, even though it is completed. We just have to get the certificate of final completion approved and signed and close this out in our books. We did withhold with 18,000 within retainage, so we can buy the flow meters on our own. And I'm looking forward to get this off by a report. The grid project, there's going to be one more planned progress meeting. There's about like 8 items left on the punch list items. They're expected to get that completed this week. So the next meeting is scheduled for the 14th, and hopefully after that, it's just all paperwork to close out that project. The 27 Chase Street Force main replacement phase 2, there was a delay with that project. So they are going to button up this roadway. The planned detour route is to have 25th Avenue, westbound 25th Avenue remain open, along with Chase Street to be open for wintertime, but we are going to close eastbound traffic on 25th Avenue from Chase to Marshall, because there is a hole they dug up there where the new force main's going, so that lane will have to stay closed. 27 Chase Street bar screen replacement project. There were some measurements taken. I think everyone now has agreed that those measurements are good to go, and I believe those are being submitted to Zima, who will be manufacturing the bar screen. Currently, there's some electrical work going on, just contractors doing what they can until the bar screens are delivered. The Lake Street.
One question
Yes.
for you. On 27th and Chase, is Passion still the contractor?
Yes. Yeah, they made some really good efforts to keep this project moving, and
Didn't they refuse to, didn't we send them a letter, attorney?
Yes, we did.
So what's the significance of sending them a letter and now they're working on the project? Didn't we send them a cease and desist? Didn't we ask them to?
No, I think the letter was a threaten to terminate unless they began the project
Right.
rather than. keep-
I thought they had terminated.
I thought it was terminated too.
That wasn't my understanding of it, but that can be done. That was a separate question, though. That's not really, I thought it was more of a threatening letter to get their attention. That was the impression I got.
But that's after almost 2 years, right?
I don't think it's been that long, but Mr. Tonk, was that your understanding too, that we were trying to get their attention to get things moving? Or
yeah, correct. That's my understanding as well. And
Will. Yeah, it was actually
I recall
my
that as
interjection
well.
during the meeting, so I remember quite well. I said, send them a notice of termination threat to get them motivated.
They said they had some challenges with gas or something down in them.
They did,
So that's been cleared up.
yes.
yeah, that problem issue been worked through. I believe this project was awarded this summer, so that's been 2 years either. And they're, as far as they're concerned, as everyone's concerned, they're still on schedule to complete on time.
Who gave them approval to proceed? Because we thought we had terminated it at one time.
No, I don't think that determination ever went through.
So
That it did go,
just a warning letter.
warning? What?
Either get moving or,
Yeah, start the job or get terminated. That was the letter, Commissioner. And they started the job.
They? With whose approval?
They had already had. a-
Okay, that's right, they were already doing it, but you decided to terminate them, and we threatened to terminate them. I don't know. But when do you think it'll be started, or have they already started?
they've already started. Measurements were taken
What about the
and
bar screen?
and the bar screen?
Where are they?
they're getting manufactured right now. They should be delivered by,
They've been trying on the manufacturing, on the manufacturing list to be processed to get those things done.
yeah, getting the field measurements were the issues, and those measurements have now been taken.
Second.
So they submitted them to the manufacturer, and those screens are being manufactured now.
I thought we were told that they were being manufactured some time ago. How long ago was that?
That was like 2 weeks ago,
Before then?
and then they found a discrepancy with their measurement and the actual drawings, but that's been worked through. So those measurements were submitted and they're being manufactured.
Look at that corner. What is that park? MC Bennett Park?
Yeah.
So they're, I mean, that corner of 25th and Chase has just been,
This is the force main.
okay.
Right.
But I'm just talking about the corner. This is all, I'm just tying it all in. Because aesthetically, you know, you pass by there, you see pipes stacked up. Matter of fact, the whole summer. And Passion's out of Chicago, aren't they?
Right, yeah, those pipes are for a different project. That's the force main project, so that's not
put it on.
FH Passion. That's Grimmer Construction.
Okay. So the work will be completed by April of 2024. Okay.
All right, moving on to the Lake Street Force Main Replacement Project. There's two minor punch list items. I'm sure John Tucker has more information on that. Hopefully those are being completed. The Grimmer's has been busy with the roadway improvements project, so I don't think they got to those two minor punch list items, but the next project is the roadway improvements project. I believe they are paving today, Lake Street from 3rd to Birch. They got to put 2 layers down, so the roads will be completed. Well, the roadway will be usable for the winter time, including snow removal. But they'll come back, they'll have to come back in the spring.
Across the bridge?
Not the bridge. This is from 3rd Avenue to Cypress.
That's just before the multi-unit buildings there. Okay.
So they're gonna just do the base courses for that for now and come back in the spring and do the surface courses. And that's all I have right now.
Eric, have you reached out to the water company about that 35th Avenue project yet?
I have not. I'm just working with Mets on this, but I can reach out there.
I would suggest even Rhonda, you as the ED, you need to reach out to them and get them motivated. They have a force main that's blocking our sewer work in the area. It's been on the books for a while, right?
Yep. It's a retired force main, the retired water main that's still pressurized.
All right, any questions for Eric? Thanks, Eric. Next up is American Structure Point.
Good morning, Board. John Tucker, Structure Point. A couple sanitary projects, as Eric mentioned, 27 Chase. I don't have any other further updates on that one. It's being winterized until the delay is over. Lake Street Force Main, the punch list items have been resolved. The trace wire was terminated within the manhole, so I will be working on the final paperwork so we can get that presented for the next board meeting as well. So those are the two sanitary related projects I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for John?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. And last but not least, we have, it's CDM Smith for GSD, and they have asked to have their update at the next board meeting. Is that okay with the board? They're not in attendance today, all right. So that brings up discussion. That's discussion amongst the board. Is there anything the board would like to discuss?
Yeah, I just had a couple of briefings, Mr. President.
Yes.
I noticed with global warming, there's more flooding. I noticed that Chicago's being proactive. They, matter of fact, ran a 4-page article this past Sunday. The basement's full of troubled water. I noticed on the claims this week, particularly in Miller, we're paying a large claim out, and I understand there's another one possibly pending. Are we budgeting money for these types of catastrophic events? I mean, we're paying, I think we're paying 16,000 on one case out there. We're paying another 2, and I think there's some other pending litigation. What are we doing to be proactive in the future?
That's actually a pretty good question. Are we budgeting for unforeseen accidents as from that magnitude? Or that's something that we have to take a look at for the next year's budget, I should say. Maybe I'm not understanding the question correctly.
Well, one of the things that we're doing is some of our sewer projects, like one on 25th and Chase Street, increasing the sewer capacity to alleviate flooding. So in terms of being proactive, that's one way we're dealing with that.
If I could, I know Commissioner Mabon, you and I spoke about this a little bit. I think you've got 2 questions there. One is from a budgetary perspective, is it something that we're budgeting for? It doesn't sound like we necessarily have that set aside for that purpose. I know in some ways, at least from my perspective, we're looking at it as really a litigation expense. We're avoiding the cost of litigation by addressing some of these claims that are out there. But more importantly, to the second question you had, I think that is, what are we doing proactively as a district, similar to what Chicago's doing, to try to eliminate or limit the potential liability that comes with these basement floodings, right? Some of them are environmental related. Some of them are completely out of the control of the district, that you've got someone who put something down the sewer, causing a backup. So there are certain things that could be put in place, but we do need a plan for that. There's an educational component as well, so that people know what a backflow preventer is and what an appropriate capacity of a backflow preventer would be for their home. So there's a lot of parts there, but if you'd like, I'll work with our director to get something together along with the engineering department to get something before the board for your consideration.
Okay.
Okay, anything else the board would like to discuss?
Just one last thing on my part. I noticed that we don't have a plant superintendent in place. Are we recruiting for that? Or are we going to what are we going to do with that position? We're going to leave that open?
We're looking to fill that position internally, and I have been in conversations with some of our staff, and there are key performance indicators that I'm looking at before we make that decision.
All right, anything else the board would like to discuss? Hearing none, next up is request to speak. Ms. Lee, were there any requests to speak?
Yes, we have 2. First being Ron Matlock.
Mr. Matlock, you can address the board at the podium, and Ms. Lee,
Each person requesting to speak shows a 3-minute.
3-minute, okay.
3-minute time frame.
Just letting you know, you have a 3-minute limit to let us know what you want. All right.
There's a lot of information here that I have, and I don't think I'd be able to discuss it. That's one reason why I was wanting to do this before we got here. First of all, I requested to have a ordinance that was originally done by Marion Williams, who was the president of the thing back in years ago. And apparently we requested that information Marion William and myself, because apparently if there was some deletion or in terms of something added to that, then we need to know if it's been revised. But from what I understand, we are asking to pay a user fee, which I don't use anything. I'm a landlord, and why should I have to pay $1,000 for a tenant who changed the name 2 or 3 times because the water company would not turn on her water because of the sanitary? Why is it, as a landlord, why haven't I got the $1,000? How did it go? I was told down here, well, because of the moratorium, we couldn't cut people off. Well, don't make me pay for it, you know? That's an act of God, and of course, they should be made to pay that. Why should it be attached to me as a landlord? And that's why a lot of time people in business, just give you an example here, right here. Khadijah Fulford, don't know who the lady is, wouldn't know. The original person would be Miss Butts, who was the landlord, but she changed her name, and I understand she just disconnected the water now, and I don't know if that to be a fact, but if she did, there's another name. I got in touch with the water company indicating that, hey, if anybody come there and cut no water, and probably Miss Butts, because she's still living there, then I need to know, just check with the landlord. You know, that's the only thing I'm asking. And apparently you're not working together. They get their money, so they don't care, okay? They get their money, or they cut it off. So I'm just asking for you all to have some consideration for a landlord, because chances are people are not going to want to come into this community. And I understand I'm not alone in this effort, because there are hundreds of landlords around town say, I got to leave town. I don't know what's going on in Gary. So Attorney Mr. Harris, I'd like to talk to you privately, see how we could remedy this situation, because I shouldn't have to be paid. I should get notified every time. How much is usually a month? Probably no more than $50 a month. How did it get to be $1,000? This is ridiculous. Cut them off. So you and I probably could talk a little bit later, okay? And I don't want you to step on nobody's toes.
All right.
Thank you for allowing me to spill my little frustration with it.
Thank you. I'll reach out to you for sure.
Were there any further requests to speak?
Yes, we have Don Onofre.
Good morning. My name is Don Onofre. I live at 8712 Maple Avenue in Gary. The reason I'm here today is I'm having a major issue with billing initially from the water company. In September of this year, they said that I had used 1.6 million gallons of water in 1 month. I've been on the phone with them 3 separate times. They still cannot, or they have not given me a date when this will be resolved. This was on the 26th that I opened my bill and noticed what was going on. I then did an inspection of my house and found nothing leaking. So I called the water company, and they sent out a technician the next day. The technician said that my meter was not working and that the bill I received was an estimate. He then proceeded to replace the meter, which some of you probably know, it's so that you can just drive by and get the numbers. When my October/November statement came, they had taken no action. Okay, so I called them again. They assured me that they would take action, but they haven't. So this November, I got my statement from you guys, and to no surprise, you guys want a little under $10,000. So I'm hoping something like a hold or something could be placed on my account, because I really don't want to incur fees, you know? It's just, and I don't think I'm being unreasonable.
Can I comment on this?
Sure.
So I just have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
So is the water company, just so I understand what the status is with the water company, are they in the process of working on an adjustment for you to address the
Supposedly,
estimate?
I can't, they said they are, and that maybe they'll have it resolved by the 10th, maybe, whatever that means.
Are you in email communication with anyone there, or
No.
is it just phone call?
Yeah, via phone call.
All right, do you have the contact name and number of the person you've been dealing with? You don't have to give it now, But
No,
do you have that info?
You know, I made 3 phone calls and I've talked to 3 separate customer service representatives. And it's just the number that's on their statement.
So the long and short of it is, if we can get verification that they are going through some type of a review for an adjustment, we can't put a hold on the account. We just need to.
They won't give that to me. I've asked.
I can work with you on that to see if we can't get that, and if so, then I can work with the staff to get the hold on the account.
Oh, that would be awesome. I really appreciate that. When can we?
Just stay after the meeting.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Were there any further requests to speak?
No, sir.
All right, next up is adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Gary Stormwater Management District on Monday, November 6, 2023. Roll call, please.
Director Daniel Vakari.
Present.
Director Maurice Mabon.
Present.
Director Ola Morris. Director Charles Jackson.
Present.
Director Darnell Lyles.
Present.
Attorney Jewel Harris Jr.
Present.
Executive Director Rhonda Anderson. Finance Manager Jerome Foster.
Present.
And that's the end of roll call.
With 5 directors present and 0 absent, we can conduct business. Next up is certification. Give me one moment, please. I know I can probably do it. I'd like to certify that pursuant to Indiana law, section 5-14-1.5-6.1, I certify that prior to the start of today's meeting, there was an executive session held and there was nothing discussed in the executive session that was not indicated on the posted notice. And being in compliance with the Indiana statutes, there were no final votes held during said executive session. Does any director wish to dissent my certification? Hearing none. Next up on the agenda is the bid opening for the US 20 Complete Streets project, which is a project for providing a complete street 500 feet west of Clay Street, east to Elkhart Street. Attorney, would you like to begin the
Yes, I will. Just a quick question. Is Structure Point supervising this project?
Yes.
Are there any alternates in the bids, just so I know to look for them when I open them? It's just base bid, is it? Okay. All right. Are there any additional bids to be submitted today? Any additional bids? All right, bidding will be closed and we'll start opening the sealed bids.
It's a IFA grant.
Okay.
All right, first bid was submitted by Grimmer Construction, Inc. out of Highland, Indiana. Bear with me, there's no tab on this one. Yeah, but it says the attached bid. I'll look for the attachment. I know it references an attachment, but I don't know where the attachment is. Okay.
You said table, I think that's it.
Is that the table? Yeah. Sure. So there's a document that says it's all the contract items and unit prices and there's a total? Is that it? All right. All right, the total base bid is $3,856,751.49. Again, the bid submitted by Grimmer Construction out of Highland, Indiana is in the amount of $3,856,751.49. Next bid is submitted by Reith Riley out of Gary, Indiana. Total bid submitted by Reith Riley is $3,547,256.44. Again, the bid amount submitted by Reith Riley is $3,547,256.44. Next bid is submitted by Gary Material Supply, also out of Gary, Indiana.
Can you repeat the third one?
Gary Material Supply.
Total amount of the bid submitted by Gary Material Supply is $3,212,193.11. Again, the bid submitted by Gary Material Supply is in the amount of $3,212,193.11. Final bid was submitted by Milestone Contractors North, Inc. out of Griffith, Indiana. Total amount of the bid submitted by Milestone Contractors North, Inc. is in the amount of $3,347,771.95. Again, that bid amount for Milestone Contractors North, Inc. is in the amount of $3,347,771.95. Mr. President, I recommend that we refer this to staff for the review and recommendation.
Can I have a motion to refer the bids to staff?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Director Lyles,
Yes.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Morris, Director Maybon,
Yes.
Director Vakari.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
5 ayes and 0 noes. The bids have been referred to staff for review and recommendation to the board. Next up is minutes. Madam Secretary, do you have a recommendation for minutes? For the recommendation for minutes, is there a motion?
So moved, here.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Did have a question, Mr. President.
Yes.
On the bid openings, what are we looking at as far as a start date on that?
Can we finish this motion on the floor before we add a new question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Any discussion on the motion to approve minutes? I did have a second, yes. Thank you. Call for the vote, please.
Director Lyles,
Yes.
Director Jackson,
Yes.
Director Morris, Director Maybon,
Yes.
Director Vakari.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
5 ayes and 0 noes. The minutes have been approved. Commissioner, Director Maybon, you had a question?
When was the work, the bid that we just opened? Was there a temporary date for the start of the work?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I know during the updates, we'll have American Structure Point up here, and I think we'll provide a detailed overview.
Okay. That's it.
All right, next up is new business with payroll. Mr. Foster.
Thank you. I recommend a motion to approve and ratify GSW MD payroll earnings for period ending September 25th, 2023 through October 8th, 2023 in the amount of $7,503.77.
For the overview of payroll, is there a motion to approve from the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote, please.
Director Lyles?
Yes.
Director Jackson?
Yes.
Director Morris? Director Maybon?
Yes.
Director Vakari?
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, item 2.1 has been approved.
Item 2.2, a motion to approve a contract by and between Gary Stormwater Management District and Norfolk Southern Railway Company for improvements to the Lake Street underpass under railway at the vicinity of railway milepost number CD-492.48. I would like to defer to John Tucker of Structure Point for the overview.
Good afternoon, directors. What you have in front is the construction agreement with Norfolk Southern. We do have work that is within their right-of-way, it's under their overpass at this point. So it is the standard language of the agreement with Norfolk Southern to continue the construction and finish the work in their right-of-way. So we've been working with them concurrently throughout the summer with our preliminary plans and their preliminary engineering review. We've taken their comments into consideration, so this is just the next step. The next step for the contractor will get their right of entry and work and coordinate with NS to keep the project moving forward and just the what needs to be done to work within the railroad's right of way.
So we entered into a similar agreement for phase 1 of Lake Street at the CSX, right?
That's correct.
And we're required by federal law to allow them that opportunity to monitor,
yes,
for safety purposes, their right of way while
That's
we work near it.
Sorry, question, John.
Yes, sir.
You told us earlier that the paving would start at 3rd and go north to Cypress, right?
We're looking to do that still.
So is that going to be held up by this right under, because this looks like it's just beyond the adult daycare and the big building on the left-hand side of the street, right?
Yeah, it's about 50 feet north of 3rd, and then, the right of ways, I want to say about 50 feet. So there is a gap. We've been working concurrently to kind of keep things moving forward, but same thing, it's the trying to do things at the same time concurrently with the agreement and construction at the same time. So that is still our intention. Unfortunately, we did get the scheduling pushed paving off today. They're not out there today. That would be in my report later on. But that is the intent, is to still start there, or at least when we are ready to pave, to proceed in the areas that we can, work our way up to that point. But at this time, we don't. We're hoping that we don't have any other delays there with the railroad itself. But we've already worked with the contractor to start their insurance, which was part of the bid. It was noted in this contract that the coordination with NS was going to be happening. So we've been already moving forward on those steps. So
from reading this, you have to get a lot of approvals from them going forward, right? Has that process started?
Yes. Yeah, so they approved our plans, we made all the comments, the insurance requirements were part of the bid, so we already have that with the contractor. They just need to now, once this agreement is signed, the contractor will have to actually sign their right of entry, and then we're already working towards scheduling the site meetings and having that happen all at the same time. This would be the next steps to get NS to move the next step.
Okay.
But yes.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
And with that overview, is there a motion to approve item 2.2?
Move. So move.
Second.
Been moved and a second has been provided. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Director Lyles?
Yes.
Director Jackson?
Yeah.
Director Morris? Director Maybon?
Yes.
Director Vakari?
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, item 2.2 is hereby approved. Next up is claims. Mr. Foster, can you provide the overview?
Thank you. I recommend approval and ratification of GSW MD claim numbers 188 through 197 in the amount of $151,485.34.
There's a question of why we're buying the carts from Cascade Engineering. Those are part of an agreement with the city of Gary, where we purchase those carts as they're either lost, damaged, or stolen, or otherwise. And the city reimburses us on a at least quarterly basis, or maybe monthly basis. Jerome, what's the arrangement there?
It should be quarterly, but we're working with our new controller right now to make sure that we all caught up on that.
It's supposed to be quarterly, but they haven't paid quarterly. That's what you said, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
These are recycle cards?
They are recycling, yeah, that is one. Okay, any questions on claims? Any further questions? Okay, can't remember if I had a motion. I'm sorry.
No,
You
you
did.
didn't.
Can I have a motion to approve claims? Move for passage. Thank you. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote, please.
Director Lyles.
Yes.
Director Jackson.
Yes.
Director Morris. Director Maybon.
Yeah.
Director Bakari.
Yes.
The vote is 5 ayes, 0 noes.
With 5 ayes and 0 noes, item 3.1 has been approved. Next up is information updates. We're going to skip directly to item 4.2 with American Structure Point.
Afternoon, Directors. John Tucker, Structure Point. Stormwater projects, as Director Maybon earlier, our US 20 project is a anticipate notice proceed April 1 of 2024. There's still a couple of parcels that we're working on to acquire. So 4/1 is the anticipated start date. That's all part of the contract documents, and everyone was aware of that.
Question.
Yes, sir.
What exactly is that 20 project going west of Clay?
It is similar to what we've done at where we did Lake Street, widening the roadway with curb and gutter, new storm sewer infrastructure, but it starts at Clay Street, and we proceed east.
I thought it was west. Is it west or east?
At Clay, the intersection at Clay, and then there's a east.
Which way?
Correct.
East toward Elkhart.
East to Elkhart. Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't think of that Elkhart. I was gonna say Elkhart. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I had all the shaking heads make me doubt myself. I should have just said east to Elkhart, and I just stuck with what I was thinking of. But yes, and there'll still be a gap between the previous phase and this phase that is still working through funding, and engineering design side is still working through that to close that gap as well.
I have something to raise. It's sort of related to this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're driving on 20 and you stop at Lake Street and you have to make a left to go up Lake Street, that cement there where if another person is going to go left to go south on Lake Street, you cannot see the oncoming cars. I mean, there have been at least 3 accidents there already. Who would the city talk to about maybe changing that? Because that's really turned into upcoming death trap, in my opinion.
Where's the concrete? You mentioned cement.
Yeah, if you're at the turning lane to go north on Lake Street, you're facing east on 20. The traffic going west, if one of the people are turning to go south on Lake Street, you cannot see the oncoming traffic going east. You really can't. That car is there, you don't see any other cars. If you take the chance to turn, that's when you get hit. There've been 4 accidents already.
There, or
I have no idea.
It's the center island. There's a center median.
It's only like 4 inches tall, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, it isn't. The median itself isn't.
Yeah, it's not the median, it's the median position the car has to be in because of the median.
I can relay that to our design team to look at that. Unfortunately, I didn't do the design, so I do not have that Mr. Murphy will come up and maybe with the answer.
I just need to know if
Yeah.
they got to sue somebody, it's the Indiana Department of Highways.
I'll let Mr. Murphy handle it. That answer.
Good afternoon, directors. We'll review that with our traffic engineers, but typically the way that problem's handled is you have a left turn phase in the traffic signal cycle, so that the left turns are happening without any through traffic moving through. And then the arrows turn red, no left turns, and then the through traffic moves through.
That isn't what happens there. There are
Well,
arrows.
that is, right,
Yeah.
that is what happens there now, but
Right.
that's how you fix that type of situation.
Yeah, because somebody will get killed.
Chris,
Thanks, Mr. Murphy.
I think you can do this off the cuff, but I think it is important for everyone in the room to know, we have bids in today for a pretty substantial project. Can you talk more globally about, I don't want you to go back 10 years, but my understanding is we've been working more than 10 years on putting all these pieces of the puzzle together for this TOD at Lake Street. And what does this project represent? Like, what cog is it filling?
That's correct, Dan. The whole sequence of construction that we've been working on in the commuter rail station area of Miller, which originally, as we mapped out, includes improvements to the Lake Street corridor from US 20 past the new commuter rail station all the way to Lake Street Beach. And we talked today about we're in the phase 2 of that construction. Phase 1 was the portion of Lake Street downtown that we reconstructed, installed new storm sewer components that was completed 3 years ago now. And the Lake Street Phase 2 is under construction. That's part of the project. Second part of the project was to take US 12 out of service in front of the Miller Station. And to do that, we built a new connector roadway, which is moves US 12 to an new intersection with US 20 down near the hotel in just to the east of the Lake Street intersection. So that provided space for the improvements to the Miller Station that NERC wanted to construct with the improved parking, and it also provided space for the train storage that NICD wanted at that Miller Station area, so that during the day, during non-rush hour commuter times, they could park their trains there instead of having to take them all the way back to Michigan City, so that when the afternoon rush hour comes around, they can immediately start that commuter cycle of commuter rail service. So that project has been complete for probably 3 years or so also. And then the last component to this part of the improvements are the improvements along US 20 that we're working on. We just bid the Phase 2 today. We completed the Phase 1 this past summer, and it provided stormwater improvements for this, what ultimately will be this stretch of US 20, generally from the new intersection of the Highway 12-20 intersection westward all the way to Clay Street. And when all of that is finished, and we still have a gap there that once we complete Phase 2, there's a gap in the middle of 1,000 plus feet or so that we still need to secure some funding for, and we're going to pursue some additional funding from NDOT, since it is their roadway that currently floods, so that we can complete installing the stormwater improvements. But included with that project is not only curb and gutter as part of the stormwater improvements, but also new wide sidewalks on each side of the road, new street lighting components, and improved pavement markings, so that ultimately, as development occurs in this area around the Miller Station, there will be better opportunities for pedestrians and non-motorized vehicles to cross from the south side of US 20 to the north side of US 20 because of the expectation that there will be more pedestrian and non-vehicle components that will establish themselves in that area as the new Miller Station opens to use and traffic. And I just want to close by saying on this whole construction effort, phasing of construction, we've been utilizing funding from various sources as we can find it and make it available from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Section 219 funding that comes through the Congressman's office. We secured funding from the Northwest Indiana RDA as part of infrastructure improvements around the new Miller Station. We've secured funding from NDOT. They helped us fund the Phase 1 portion of the US 20 Complete Streets project. We've secured funding from the Gary Common Council, and they're funding the Phase 2 Lake Street project right now, that construction. And we've also secured funding, as Dan noted, for this Phase 2 of US 20 Complete Streets from the Indiana Finance Authority. Those are state dollars that are specifically targeted to stormwater improvements on state highways. So we're able to make the case that the US 20 stormwater improvements fit this eligibility, and they provided us with over $3.6 million toward this construction. So we're getting to the end of this journey for this part of the Miller Station improvements, infrastructure improvements project, but we still have some work to go. So I'll probably be standing here for another year or two, keeping everybody up to date on our progress. Going west, it'll end at Clay Street intersection. Well, it'll actually, we've already completed just to the west of Clay Street, where US 12 used to come in to US 20 to a combined roadway. And that section of that intersection was taken out of service because that section of US Highway 12 is no longer used for state highway. Just beyond where the old US 12, US 20 intersection came together. That's the end of this this whole phasing of construction. Not that I'm aware of, Commissioner. There may be something NDOT is doing, but not as part of the work that we're doing in and around the Miller Station commuter rail improvements. Yes. Yes.
But we've spent a substantial amount of money out in Miller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have infrastructure challenges throughout the entire city. Broadway for one, and you mentioned preparing for development out there. I would like to think that the whole city's under reconstruction, and it's, you know, and I try not to comment on things like this. I know it's grants involved, but I just hope somewhere in the future that the same effort is put forward. I'm from Midtown, and I just hope the same effort is put forward in Midtown. People are having flooding issues. They're having some challenges with the roads. You know, people come through every so often, they pave the roads, but they do nothing under the road. And I know we spent a substantial amount. Every time we do something, it's $3 million here, $5 million here.
Correct.
ARPA money's there. And we've been working in Miller since prior to COVID. And we put a substantial amount. And I know Ms. Morris would complain about flooding on 45th. For whatever, and we're told that it's French drains or whatever, but to go out there, when I cross I-65, it's like I'm going into a totally different community. You know, I see work going on there, and I see work going on beyond 61st and Broadway. You go 61st and Broadway all the way to 200, it's like another world. And you mentioned about the sidewalks. I just hope that somewhere in the future, that other communities are able to benefit from this effort of getting grants, securing grants, because we've got some infrastructure challenges throughout the city.
Correct.
That's not on you, but we talked so long about Miller.
Right.
That if you lived in another community, you couldn't help but feel a certain way.
I understand, Commissioner.
Yeah, sure.
And it's my understanding that there has been legislation approved down at the State General Assembly to direct funding toward downtown, particularly toward the downtown commuter rail station and improvements to that station. And that station is the hub of what the RDA is proposing is a transit development district that will include an extent of Broadway, as I understand it. I think from the station on 4th Avenue down to 10th or 11th Street, and identifies that area for additional opportunity for tax increment financing available for infrastructure improvements. So I know there's discussions in the works for improvements in that area of at least the Broadway area down to 10th and 11th that is part of the downtown commuter rail station project.
Hey, any questions for Structure Point? All right, you got it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Next up is Robinson Engineering with Ron Smith.
Good afternoon, Directors. Ron Smith at Robinson Engineering. Just a couple updates for you. We're finishing up the work for the bridge project over in the east side of Gary. We're going to winterize that project, and then we're going to start back up work in the spring. And
you didn't want to say Miller, right?
So it's not the east side of Gary. So that project is coming to a close. All the utilities have been relocated and the stormwater improvements have been done. And again, we'll start that back up in the spring of 2024. There's a street that we're working on the east side of Gary as well. We have revised the stormwater calculations, and we'll be getting those over to the engineering department to review that. The citywide paving program, that's almost completed. It's been a very good partnership with the Gary Stormwater Management District on any issues we've been having with drainage structures or piping. So they have been very helpful when it comes to cleaning, televising, and replacing any pipe that has been needed on that project. So that concludes my update this afternoon, and I'll entertain any questions that directors may have.
Any questions for Ron?
Thank you. And all the veterans have a happy Veterans Day on Friday. So
thank you.
And don't forget to vote.
Definitely.
All right. And pay your real estate taxes Friday.
Friday,
or sooner.
Ron, we'll talk about it later. Sorry. Next up is discussion. That's discussion amongst the board.
I did have a question. I know I saw where Gary Material was the lowest responsible bidder.
We don't know that he's responsible yet, not to cut you off.
Well, okay. But I thought, didn't we have some, well, we'll just wait on that. Because I thought once they were removed from our bidders list, we had a challenge with them out in Miller, doing some work out there. We had to pull them off the job. So that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, we terminated their agreement midstream.
I don't think we can discuss that now.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but I can look into it.
Okay.
Here. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think you overlooked your sanitary district. Two individuals.
They're not on the agenda.
They're not, yeah, McCain is.
He's not on the agenda.
Not on this one.
The second board meeting of the month, half the month.
Why is it on here?
He's not on my agenda.
He's not on mine.
It's just showing that it's not on the agenda. It's just,
This one. Here.
oh, this right here is just a project. Variation project. He's on there, but he's not here. He's not on the agenda.
So you're saying then he just doesn't
Yeah, he provides an FYI every board packet, but in the sake of time, we're keeping those updates publicly at every second board meeting of the month, just like we had done historically. It's discussion, so what would you like to discuss? What would you like to discuss? Nothing. If you have a question, I think he could probably answer a question, but he doesn't have a presentation.
Mr. Kazi?
Good morning or good afternoon. You guys caught me in the middle of multitasking. Uniforms. I have had a meeting recently with Cintas. It was an unscheduled meeting. She just came in and popped in on me. So I've rescheduled a meeting with Cintas rep and their general manager and your representative Nick Snow for November the 16th in discussion about the contract and improprieties of the contract. And that's all I have on Cintas. Her positioning was in our meeting, basically, we've overcharged you before. What's the big deal now? And to put it in a nutshell, which was really shocking to me when she said that, as blatant as she did. So I'll keep you posted on the meeting.
Right, and Mr. Kazi, the goal of the meeting, just for the benefit of the board, is to come up with some understanding as to how we're going to separate.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kazi.
Are we close to opening 504?
We made our first steps. We have, one of the issues was that we needed to hire additional staff, and we are making offers. Is that correct, Kara? So that's the first step. And then Jerome is going to provide me with quotes on the equipment that we need. So we've made our first steps, and we are moving forward with that.
So Kara, I only saw like 3 clerk positions on your report. Is that all we have? And would those 3 go to Broadway? Would they go to Broadway, or is 2 enough to open Broadway, or do we have to wait to get more people? So Broadway is open. Is it open or not?
It is not.
It's open, but not.
You had 7 people there?
Not to the public.
What? So when can we get open to the public? That's what you're asking about, right? When is it opening to the public?
Yeah.
All right, there's a couple things that, Ms. Anderson's asked me to get quotes. We're getting those right now for the actual infrastructure that needs to go in there. During this particular point in time, when we switched our billing systems, during the middle of COVID, actually, if I'm not mistaken, it opened on, 2021? I could be off on that number. Really 2021. So the actual things such as the terminals, those that's needed to be put in, those were not brought in at that time. So we're getting quotes right now to get those services turned on, and then we can open it back up to the public.
Okay, because one thing we can solve down there, for example, people like Mr. Matlock, instead of having to wait to a board meeting, which we have a board meeting, come here and discuss some of the challenges he's having, when we could actually have a dedicated person there that could actually discuss the bills or what's going on with the bills. So the sooner the better.
Understood.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Sure.
While he's coming up, Mr. Chair, if I could address one thing, I think it's for a resident who had a concern. Mr. Onufray, I was able to correspond with staff while we were in the meeting, and we did confirm your complaints to Indiana American Water. It is currently being investigated, so your account is on hold. No, based on your request, your account's on hold, and until they're done with their investigation, you won't be subject to any collection efforts or anything like that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep, not a problem.
Let me ask you a question. What normally was your water bill and sanitary district bill? For both water and GSB? You live in a single-family home? You don't have a water tower?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I spoke with Mr. Metz, and I told him to reach out to the union and to let the union know that we're requesting the 2/3 compliance of Gary residents on the job. He said he would. I also talked to Margie Hoffman of Grimmer, and she would do the same thing. And they both hire out of local 81, and so that's going to be the protocol. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have another group coming November 9th. We have a high school class of 30 from Hobart High School, and it begins at 9 o'clock, and I want to formally invite all the commissioners to participate in the actual tour for the students. So we reached out beyond Gary to also to the area that we serve, Hobart, Lake Station, Maryville. And truly, our goal is to have at least 300 students run through the whole school year. And we want to reach out to the areas outside of Gary to justify why they pay our bills, why their parents pay their bills. We have about 3 classes coming from 21st Century. We have about 3 classes scheduled from Williams School. We're pretty much stretched out for the rest of the school year in terms of filling our portion of the Gary Sanitary District. We have to work out something for the airport because they want 15 students or 15 people total. So we have to kind of work something out, but we're able to handle 30. And our next one is November 9th. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. All righty. Thank you.
Mr. McCain?
Yes, sir.
I noticed in your report, METS is consistently at 25%. I don't remember for sure, but didn't I request from somebody here his compliance up year to date in terms of Gary residents? Did I ask you for that, or?
I submitted it to you. It was from August to August, August of 22 to August of 23. And I submitted it to the commissioners via email. I can submit it again to you.
Yeah, why don't you shoot it, because I don't normally get emails from you. Shoot it to me again so I can take a look at it. But can you give me the Cliff Note version?
The maybe 13 jobs, he was in compliance 57%.
Okay.
57%.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Question for Mr. Foster. When will you have the budget prepared to submit to the commissioners?
We're in the process right now. I will be meeting with our financial consultants actually Thursday to begin the process, and that's when we will start bringing all our managers in and for their, I'll call it their request. And then I would expect for that budget to be hitting the board on the first board meeting in December.
And Mr. President, has there been any movement on the garbage contract?
The garbage, you mean the trash fee amendment with city council? Yeah, I believe you, staff is preparing to present to city council Wednesday. Normally would have been Tuesday. They have council meeting on Wednesday because of election day.
One suggestion on the question regarding the budget, if you did want to have kind of a question and answer session, I'd recommend you schedule a public workshop solely on the budget for you to review it, if that's something that you want to do.
I think Rhonda's preparing some background information on the trash contract, why we're even involved. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about why we're involved and what's actually included in the contract, how long is it for, who gets the fees, all that, So I think for those that would like to sit in on it, I think all of us could benefit from that background as a refresher. So that'll be Wednesday at 6. All right. Next up, request to speak. Are there any requests to speak?
No, sir.
All right, next up is adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
So.